Hello everyone, this is Lam here. In today's Fuji Friday, I definitely have some news bits that I want to talk about, but this time we're going to head a little bit into the speculation and conjecture and just maybe a little bit of snarkiness from me just because of the news items that we're talking about. So the first one that we're going to talk about comes from Fuji Rumors. They had a news article reporting that the X-H1, the base model on BHphoto, is actually discontinued, but you can still buy the X-H1 with the battery grip for the same price. If you look at the Adorama website, the base model of the X-H1 with and without the battery grip actually costs the same, so there's really no reason why you would want to buy an X-H1 without the battery grip. Now, having said all of that, there are a lot of people excited about the X-H2. A lot of people actually want that to come out in 2019, but from all of the rumors so far, that's going to be a 2020 camera. What's kind of interesting about this is that the X-H1 is supposed to be the flagship model from the Fuji line. That is something that Fuji has stated, although because the X-T3 was so good, it's kind of become a little bit muddled. What's interesting to me, and this is where I'm going to do a little speculation and conjecture, is that if the X-H2 is very similar in spec than the X-T3, then what we could have is a revisit of what happened when the X-H1 came out, which is it was a $1,900 camera. Everybody was excited because it was the first camera in the Fuji lineup with IBIS, so in-body stabilization. Everybody really loved it when it first came out, but very soon after, the X-T3 came out, and that camera kind of dominated all of the really good reviews for the rest of the year, and that kind of left the X-H1 in this no man's land, and they finally had to drop the price of the X-H1 down to $1,300 to make it fit in line with the current camera lineup. So while I am very interested in the X-H2, what I'm going to be interested in seeing is the X-H2 going to be a technological bump, or is it just going to be a small incremental bump? Because if it is, I would actually recommend for people to actually wait to see when the X-T4 is going to be released, because if we get to the point where the X-H2 is only an incremental bump, but we can potentially see a significant bump in the X-T4, I feel like you're not going to get your best bang for the buck in the Fuji lineup. Again, this is all conjecture and speculation. It really comes down to how great the X-H2 is going to be. I'm really looking for a technology increase in the X-H2. If it's going to be similar specs to the X-T3, that's really not what I'm looking for. I would probably look ahead to see what the X-T4 is going to be at that point. One last thing that I want to speculate on is that if the X-H2 remains at the $1,900 price point, it's going to be very competitive with a lot of new full-frame cameras that are going to be around that price point, or it's going to be lower. We're talking about the Nikon, the Canon series. They're all going to have really good cameras around that price point. If the price actually goes up on the X-H2, say they actually have some new technology, but it's going to go up to, I don't know, $2,500, maybe $3,000. At that point, there's a lot of full frame cameras that are really good that you really have to look into. If you're not invested into the Fuji line, as in you don't have a bunch of Fuji glass already, you really need to look at the other product lines, because at that price point, there are just a ton of really good cameras that can do both photo and video. So it really remains to be seen how they're going to make the X-H2 stand out, not just in their own product lineup, but also against all of the other product lines. At $2,000, it is a super competitive market right now. Thanks in large part to the Sony's a7 III, it really redefined what the base was, and it's only going to continue to get more competitive as Sony releases more of its cameras. The next news bit that I want to talk about actually comes from a Thai YouTube channel. They were interviewing one of Fuji's managers, and there was plenty of great questions, but one of them actually stood out to me, and it's the one that I want to actually talk about, which is they asked a question on whether or not Fuji cameras incorporate artificial intelligence. And the manager said that currently none of the Fuji cameras have an artificial intelligence chip, but they know the importance of it and they are looking into it. It looked like in the video the manager did want to speculate a little bit, but he decided against that and just said that it is something that they are looking into, and that is super interesting because the dominant camera system in the market right now is our smartphones, and all of the major camera manufacturers right now, they're improving their image qualities by leaps and bounds, not just through having better sensors or better glass. They're also doing it through post-processing or AI intelligence. You can actually see it in a lot of the new features from Apple and from Google. Their night shot technology is quite quite amazing, and they're just constantly working at it. So there's definitely a lot of software technology that Fuji can really look at to help improve the imaging systems in their camera line. In CES 2019, AI and the talk of how it would improve our lives was just absolutely everywhere, and we're now seeing it trickle down to camera systems. We really don't know yet, but there's definitely going to be a lot of cool things that we can get from artificial intelligence. It's definitely a new frontier that all of the camera manufacturers are going to have to tackle if they want to keep up with all of the smartphone technology. So the last news bit that I want to talk about is the promo video that Fujifilm just released. This is about their large format cinema glass, which is super expensive. They're like $40,000. This is definitely for rental houses and large corporations that have high budget movies and shows. But what is kind of interesting is that this is essentially a full frame piece of glass for cinema cameras. Now we know that Fuji has been adamant about not producing a full frame camera, but it looks like they're willing to invest R&D money into full frame glass, which the snarky side of me wants to say, you've already invested R&D money into full frame glass. It's not that far of a leap at this point to actually create a full frame camera, but that's just the snarky side of me trying to say that. What really surprises me is that since it's only full frame glass, it's not going to be usable for the GFS line, which is the medium format sensors. We know that Fujifilm is going to be coming out with 100 megapixels, and that camera should be able to do video really well. I'm just really surprised that this piece of glass isn't going to be usable for that GFX camera, because it would be a great pairing, because now you have this 100 megapixel monster that costs $10,000, and you can pair it with cinema glass to really show that Fujifilm can pioneer medium format video technology. But unfortunately, it looks like that's not going to happen. Now, can they come out with another cine line for the medium format cameras? I assume they can, but that R&D research money, it's got to be pretty hefty every single time they develop these type of lenses. So it remains to be seen how far they're actually going to support video recording on their medium format cameras. I personally hope they actually support it really well, but having the camera body being able to record really good video is only one part of the solution. We also need really good glass. So I'm really hoping that when they release that 100 megapixel $10,000 monster, they will actually have some good cinema glass to go along with it. It really doesn't have to be a zoom lens. It could just be a set of primes with a declicked aperture and a longer throw for focus. That's really all we need out of the primes. Well, the primes have to look good too, obviously, but we know that Fujifilms can make really good glass. But what I'm really looking forward to is seeing the video from their medium format cameras and seeing how different it is from full frame. And when this video came out, I assumed that it was going to be a GFX mount, but it ended up being a PL mount, which does make more sense because there's definitely a lot more cinema cameras that support PL mounts. But I was really disappointed to see that it wasn't for the GFX line. Hopefully they have something lined up for their medium format cameras for video. Anyways, that's all I have this week. Is there anybody else out there that's really excited to see what medium format video looks like on Fujifilm cameras? I know I'm really excited to take a look, but I might be the only one. Hopefully we will get to see that soon, but we don't know of a release date. Anyhow, that's all I have. I will see you in the next video.